Good evening. This is Jacob Terrell, and I wanted to give you folks a briefing concerning the potential for some hazardous weather conditions that are going to be impacting the southern section of the high plains later on this week. Video was recorded November the 25th, 2019. Let's go ahead and get started and talk about some of the things that we can expect to see here in the here later this week. So starting tomorrow on Tuesday, we're going to be looking at the likelihood of very strong winds not associated with thunderstorms. So some very gusty and very strong winds are going to be likely, kind of similar to what we had back in March earlier this year. We're talking about winds that could be gusting, as high as 70 miles an hour. So very strong, damaging winds not associated with thunderstorms are going to be a very real concern for Tuesday. We're talking about winds that will have the potential to produce some tree damage, some power line damage, as well as even some minor structural damage as well. And because of the low humidity values, relative humidity values, there is also going to be an increased risk of fire danger as well. And then Wednesday, we begin to look for the potential of a possible winter storm with a mix of a variety of winter weather hazards from sleet to freezing rain and heavy snow. And this could extend into Thanksgiving morning as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as we progress. This is a look at the relative vorticity here on one of the computer models that we look at called the NAM. This is tomorrow afternoon, and long story short, this is a very, very good signature for strong, damaging winds not associated with thunderstorms here. We have this shortwave trough, as we call it, spread out here from the panhandle over western Kansas. Very, very gusty and strong, damaging winds are looking very possible when you see something like that on the modeling. So just a little bit of meteorology for you. And again, like I said, we could be talking about winds that are possibly gusting from 60 to 70 miles an hour, maybe even a little bit higher than that. So the winds are going to be a very real concern tomorrow, and I can just go ahead and tell you now, make sure that you are preparing for the possibility of power outages, and make sure you have that flashlight ready. It's also going to make it a little bit difficult to drive. Hopefully not, but I would not be surprised if we see what we saw back in March, where we have some tractor trailers that are tipped over by the or blown over by the strong winds. So wind is going to be a real problem tomorrow, and as a result, with that wind kicking up in the lower relative humidity values, there is definitely some potential for wildfires. We do have this elevated area of fire danger for most of the Texas Panhandle into portions of the Oklahoma Panhandle, as well as extreme southern portions of Kansas. And look at this critical area that is now showing up, and that includes the good eastern chunk of the Texas Panhandle. So out of all the areas that we're looking at here, it'll probably be the eastern part of the Texas Panhandle with the absolute greatest potential of wildfires and brush fires. But that does not mean that there will not be fires outside of that area and the elevated danger risk as well. So basically everywhere in the southern high plains, with the exceptions of the western portion of the Panhandle region here, portions of western Kansas down into southeastern Colorado, and the eastern parts of New Mexico. All other areas, and besides those areas that I just mentioned, will be at some risk for elevated fire danger, especially in the eastern portions of the Texas Panhandle. So that's going to be another concern that we're going to have to watch out for as well. All right, so let's get into Wednesday with this incoming winter storm. This is when things get a little bit tricky, trying to decide at this point where the best potential for snow is going to be, where the best potential for freezing rain, sleet is going to be. As you can see, this model here on Thanksgiving morning, actually, so this is going ahead through Wednesday and into Thanksgiving morning. This model is depicting, 2 to 3 inches in places like northeastern New Mexico and the northwestern sections of the Panhandle here, with some traces elsewhere and maybe 1 inch to 2 inches in portions of southwestern Kansas up there, like by Garden City. And as you can see way back out there, if you're going to be traveling to Colorado, that's definitely going to be a lot more snow, especially up there in those mountain regions as well. So that may not look like a whole lot of snow, but again, the other concern is where the freezing rain would set up as well. And if this is correct, we could be talking about freezing rain and sleet being a problem right here in the central part of the Panhandle here for areas like Amarillo and Canyon. We'll go ahead and look at another computer model here about the same time on Thanksgiving, and it's depicting a little bit of a different scenario here, depicting a little bit higher snow totals, about 2 inches, and that would work to maybe cut down a little bit on the freezing rain and the sleet, but that doesn't necessarily mean that freezing rain and sleet won't still be possible in addition to that. So it's still a tricky forecast situation, and we're still watching it here pretty closely here, but the general thinking at this point is that for areas like Amarillo, the bigger concern may be some freezing rain and some sleet, some icing, with the greater snow potential being up in areas like Dalhart, up there into Boise City, Oklahoma, up into the southwestern portions of Kansas, maybe, and even in the, I guess, areas like Garden City that maybe have a little bit of a higher potential for snow. But we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. Also, eastern New Mexico as well, northeastern New Mexico, maybe add a little bit of higher potential for snowfall as well. But like I said, it is just there's still a lot of uncertainty. And so talking about preparedness actions here, the forecast is subject to change. So we want people to be monitoring the forecast carefully throughout the next several hours and throughout tomorrow and into Wednesday here, because this forecast will be changing here. The models may begin to shift the heavier snow bands to the south a little bit. They may increase the totals that we're looking at with the potential for snow. I think the main idea would be maybe 2 to 3, maybe 3 to 4 inches at the very most for northwestern Texas Panhandle and the western Oklahoma Panhandle and the northeastern New Mexico. But again, this is subject to change, so just be monitoring the forecast over the next several days, and know that some hazardous winter weather conditions are definitely possible. So for tomorrow, so Tuesday, make sure that you have those loose objects that are outdoors secured, and that you have a flashlight prepared in case you do lose power and the power is out for an extended period of time. And make sure that you have a way to stay warm, whether it's a portable battery charged heater, in the event of an extended power outage. Hopefully, with power outages that may occur tomorrow, hopefully they will be able to get those fixed pretty quickly, but you know how that goes. So also, make sure that you have a winter weather safety kit ready for Wednesday and into Thursday for the potential of snow, and as well as the sleet and the freezing rain. Definitely want to make sure that you stay tuned to the forecast, as things, again, I cannot stress this enough, the forecast is subject to change, and there's still some uncertainty with this forecast here, and just even some minor differences in the modeling could make all the difference in the forecast. So the bottom line is, for Tuesday, very high winds are possible. Very strong winds, not related to thunderstorms, are going to be likely throughout much of the Texas Panhandle, all the way up into portions of southwestern Kansas. So we definitely want people to be prepared for that, to have a flashlight ready, and just be prepared for power outages here, maybe some tree damage and some other kinds of minor damage as well, because the winds are going to be pretty significant. And again, do not forget about that fire danger as well. That fire danger is going to be elevated on Tuesday. And then, of course, obviously the winter weather for Wednesday and into Thursday. That's going to be something that we will have to keep watching as well. Well, I'm Jacob Terrell, and I want to thank you for watching this video, and I will continue to keep you updated.